Welcome everyone to the Remington Kuhn Show. My name is Remington Kuhn. I am joined today by head coach of West Prairie Field Hockey, Wendy Byers. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Winning a state championship is obviously a huge accomplishment, especially for a school that's never experienced something like this before. I went to the bank the other day and actually saw a sign up acknowledging your success. How would you describe the team's reception from the community?
Beyond words. I mean, our send-offs were, I would say, one of the best in the States with how they came out and supported us. All the fire departments, they always escorted us. H&J Towing was always there. I have a player on my team, and her dad owns a trucking company, and he has this big concrete barrier and he's so, he's busy, and he made sure to have it there to lead us into the state final. And it was really neat. It has all the kids' names on it and the coaches and a Mustang, and it was a really quality way for us to go to state. So, I mean, it's been amazing, the community support. I couldn't feel more blessed to live in this community.
Awesome. Yeah, I picture it as a community where everybody kind of knows everybody. So when I thought about you guys winning the state championship, I thought about you going to the grocery store and seeing somebody and then being like, hey, congratulations. Is that something that you've experienced so far?
Yeah, I was in the post office right before the state game, and I saw a neighbor up the street, and she was like, I've been following, and like when I walk the dog in the neighborhood often, and people will stop, chit chat about it. Everybody seems very excited. It's just really neat. It's special for the girls too.
In the postseason, something I noticed as one of the keys to West Perry's success was starting fast, scoring early and often. How does your team preparation play into striking first?
The girls had never had like a medal from districts or states. And they're like, we just want a medal. Once we got that far and we had, reached all our other goals and we were in that position, I have, my game board that I use, and we would sit down as a team and we would like talk about our intentions each game. And some of them were the same, some of them were a little different, but I wanted them to verbalize them as a team. So we would sit, I would write them on the board. At Mechanicsburg, we were there twice, so I got to use the locker was very nice. So we got to use their whiteboard for that. And they would sit there and just like really talk about everything they wanted to accomplish. And I tried to do it like right before those big games. And then they were able to go out there and do exactly what we talked about in those intentions. So that was neat to see them be able to translate that then into the game.
Something I noticed was the word family on the back of your team's warm-up shirts. What is the meaning of that word to your team?
Well, last year we came up with it when we were headed to the semifinal round. We had done some team bonding things, and we asked, like my assistant coach led that, Ashley Miller, and she had asked, what word do you think you want to use for this to describe what you want to do? And they came back with family. So they actually had it on their sticks. One of our players that's really crafty, she does, she's just gifted in that. She had it all, printed out that they could put the stickers on their sticks, and a lot of them had them on still this year. So it just overflowed from last year into then. The seniors always get to pick their design for their warm-up shirts, and I had 9 seniors this year, and I let them figure it out and have at it, and I was excited to see that's what they chose to put on the back of their shirt.
So you mentioned the seniors. I'm just going to name a few: Autumn Albright, Addison Brandt, Shay Dyer, Laurel Fight, Carson Meek, Marty Morrison, Lindsay Shepard, Jordan Byers. What is this core group of seniors meant to the West Perry field hockey program?
It is a really special group of girls. Everybody in that group I was at the middle school before the high school, so I kind of followed them the whole way through. It's just been neat to watch not only their skills progress and them as field hockey players from the beginning until, now, but also as the maturity as young ladies. It's just been neat to watch that progression along the way.
The most common attribute that your players used to describe you was supportive. How do you show your players support despite all this added pressure of trying to win a championship?
Well, I just feel like they need me to know that I believe in them. So I always, like, once we get to the game, I mean, I will do some like, you need to be here, come back here, do some of that type of things. But mostly I told them at this point, I'm just your biggest cheerleader. So we just stand on that sideline and you cheer for them. As long as you are working your butt off and you're trying your best, I don't care about the mistakes that you just have to keep going. You have to let them go and keep playing your game. Because we always talked about if you're in your head and you're second guessing yourself, it's going to show in your play. So we really tried to make sure that they knew that we believe in them. They needed to believe in themselves.
Some of your players told me that this season you pushed them more than ever before, almost like you knew what they were capable of, how special they could be. What was different about this year as opposed to years past?
Well, this year was the toughest part. I'll start with that about this year is we had talked about the difference between being a underdog and a top dog. So it was, well, we had always been the underdog coming up through. It just was always, we were the underdog, which basically to me is, and we had talked about that and they knew right away and answered, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. But once you're the top dog, the pressure is in. So we talked a lot about like taking that pressure, releasing it. Like you got the pressure on you. And we talked about like, what do other people think of the top dog? And really, my daughter Jordan was the one that answered that. And she was like, everybody hates you. And it's not that they hate you, but they just want to knock you off that pedestal. Like they're ready to come after you as that underdog and just have the bragging rights of toppling you off that pedestal. So we really talked about those type of things as a team, because I was real big on emphasizing that, especially when in the big games, and we played some big games during the season this year, and then especially in postseason, I was like, once you hit that, I mean, you have all prepared, stick and ball so much. This is a mental game at this point. So that's why we really try to touch on those mental aspects of the game.
Something you would say before a big game, duty is ours, but the outcome is God's.
Yeah, we talked about that. That became, I'd heard that on one of the podcasts I listened to, and it really just stuck with me. And we talked about how, they're basically, they're made in the image of God. We all are. They're God's hands and feet. They have to put the work in. It's not just going to magically happen. We all have to put the work in, but then you just let it up to God. You let it up to God, and whatever happens, happens. So that's what we really try to talk about, like before each game.
Something else that players have said about something you would say, no regrets before each game, especially near the end of the season. Any game could be this group of seniors' last game. How have you been able to get that best effort out of all your players, especially since I read that you actually thought some of your players played their best game in the championship game?
Well, it's just important that they know that. I just didn't want them to go home and be like, man, I wish I would have done this. I could have done more. And I know that we have all felt that way in life. And I was like, you cannot, like, you have to go out and do this, that you go home and no matter what happens, no matter what those results are, you know that you poured your heart and soul into that game. And then you're okay with it. It's happened to us at Ole Valley last year at the semifinals. They were just better than us last year. So, and they know that, and you got to own that when that happens. So that's why I knew that we had a strong team and we had a great chance of this, but they had to believe in themselves and put every ounce of field hockey. And there was a couple of different big games that we didn't have a lot of depth. If you saw in that state game, I didn't suck. So, I mean, we have a very small team. So they had to just keep digging deep and not letting down the whole time. So, and they did that. They were able to accomplish that.
And I have one last question for you. As a mother, what does it mean for you to share this entire experience with your daughter, Jordan?
It's kind of like, I'm not one to ever, I don't cry. My husband jokes that I'm dead inside. I'm just not one to do that. But I just try to just focus on what's going on. But it was neat after that state game. And she felt a lot of pressure this season. I know more than she has in the past. And after that state game, to see her, I mean, she's not one to cry either. She gets it from me. And to see her run over to me and just just in joyful tears. And I saw that pressure just come off her shoulders. it was really neat to just give her a hug and have her let it go. Because I mean, during the season, the past 6 years, I am everybody's cheerleader, but I have to admit, she's really the only one that I criticize, and I never cheer for her when she scores a goal. I cheer for everybody else. It's just my nature. So she's had to put up with like me being like that, but I think it's made her humble. And it's just important to be that team leader, but make sure that you're also, that teammate. And she's always done a good job of being that. So
That's amazing. And you guys accomplished so much this year, winning the state championship. It was awesome to watch, awesome to follow. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, Coach. It's been very fun. And again, thank you for your time and everyone for watching today. This has been the Remington Kuhn Show with my special guest, Wendy Byers, head coach, West Prairie Mustangs field hockey state champions. Thank you so much.
thank you.